call out. And we're getting back below the open here, so. Put counts. See Apple over here trying to get accepted in this lower distribution. We do have kind of some buyer response here at this 172 level. But pretty much everything trying to roll over now. You're seeing communications just tick down. You're seeing our weighted sector tick down here. Seeing the NASDAQ really push down pretty hard right here. Yes. So back to where these sellers started to get aggressive was at the 90, and then this kind of where they need to hold, push it back below that open. Failure probably bring it back up to that 93.5 where we saw the offer come in before that. No conviction on either side. Really choppy early on, really tight range, 98 to 86, so about that 11 points, 12 points here.
So, Brad, would you think about taking that trade for the second time when it came back down then?
Yeah, I did. I got filled on 88
You did
quarter.
take it?
Yeah.
Because I know you say sometimes if it comes down for a third time, then you're not so sure about it.
Yeah, I waited till it came back above the open, and then it tried to go back below the open and didn't make it. And so,
Failed.
yeah, and then I just took it back up.
Cool.
It just
But the
depends, like,
more it keeps pushing down, you treat it as it's getting weaker, right?
right, right. And especially what I'm looking for is the rebounds, right? So, like, right now, like, my profit target is on 93.5. But if we don't get up there, I'll probably just let this thing come back down to break even and just cut it at flat. Because that's really just like I'd like to let it to run up there, but it, it needs the room because of how choppy it is, and if it doesn't make it up there and comes back to close me out at break
Yeah, you can
even,
get slammed if it comes down the other way.
right? And it just shows me the weakness of the buyers. If it doesn't go back up to where the offer was at, that means they're mostly that was probably just a bit of short covering. Because
Yeah,
if
got ya.
buyers were stepping up, it should go back and slam that offer, right? Because if you imagine, like, if we're playing ping pong and, I'm an offer and you're a bid and we're slamming the price back and forth, the theoretical price, which would be the ball in this case, back and forth, and you can't even make it back to me. So now I got to lean forward and smack the ball
Right.
back to the
Yeah, that's a
bid.
good way of thinking about it. I've
Yeah,
not thought about it like that before, especially with the dot moving. It works as the ball.
right.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Thanks, mate.
Yep. And I'm pretty good at ping pong, not gonna lie. And see, to me, the reason I'm still willing to take this long is because it seems like momentum sellers are kind of piling on to the short side and getting in at the wrong spots. Like they're almost selling to the patient shorts that are shorting here above that Globex point of control. And then the momentum sellers are coming back down in while these sellers are just buying their positions back. But I mean, this bounce here is, you know, pretty choppy, but no real conviction from sellers, right? once we popped up back above the open, we never went back below it again. We checked below the open to see if sellers wanted to sell. They said, nah. And then, just kind of popped right back above it. So 93 quarters, got a 200 lot offer on it. $265 lots there. Look to see if they lift them up. They are. Still a decent bit of selling right there. You're seeing some offers try to move down to get into a short from here, that 93 quarter, 93 half level. Just buyers are just being more aggressive and just lifting that offer up here. So now we're seeing that reaction below the open. I would say this is a pretty strong reaction, right? If it was just short covering, we probably wouldn't have popped up above the offer at 93. But when we got to the 93 offer, you did see some buyers come in and start lifting the offer. Now we're back above that Globex point of control, and we can assume these shorter time frame traders are going to be closing their shorts and buying the market instead, right? They couldn't break the low, so now they're like, oh, well, let's try to break the high, back and forth here. And it looks like you're probably safe to move your stop up to 95 if you're still running this long, and target that settle as the next reference. Peter said that he released this weighted AD script on TradingView. You have to buy it, but it's on TradingView. I mean, you can always tune in here and watch mine though, but if you wanted it on your own, that it's on there. There we go. I think the stream is back up and running, so sorry for that. I still am on Wi-Fi for the next couple of days. Hopefully, by Monday next week, we'll be all set up and streaming on the direct connect fiber. Curtis, you know what? Don't let that thing just swing around. It's gonna rip out. The little offers moving in here on the 95. No real bids below either. Really, really choppy, really, really tight early on. Here comes B period. Let's see what B period is going to bring. We have an A high that is mechanical. You can see our weighted sectors are just barely positive on our weighted AD. Information technology trying to make a little bit of a bounce. Amazon and Tesla really holding it up. Can I go on the Switch now? Yeah, he knows he's not allowed to go back on the Switch until after lunch now. Offer moving down on that 93 here, 300 lots. Watch to see how it trades here. This could just be everyone trying to just cover below. Like they're doing a pretty decent job in holding. They did. Back down to the 90. But yeah, that offer moved. So there was an offer that moved down to the 93, a 400 lot offer, but it's kind of just spreading itself out. It looks like, and now we're seeing what looks like some sellers moving down here on that 89.5 again. Two big buy orders just came through on the 87, 117 lots and 197 lots. Now you've got a poor low. Market trades back below the open. But there's a move to that lower distribution. So now it's repaired these single prints here from yesterday. Now watch to see the reaction here. That will be the key. Will the reaction get back above 93 again? We've got weak spots on the profile right here, 88 quarter, 88.50, and then another one up here, 91.50 to like 91.75 really. Back to that open, back above the open, excuse me. Didn't break the Globex low, right? That was your key. If it holds this 87.5, we'd look to, try to get long again and then trade it back up to that 93. V-bar is also at that weekly VWAP. Yeah, that is. That's true. Good call out. Thank you. Will those my uncle's posting his numbers from his algo. He wrote an algo to trade stocks, to take his emotion out of trading, and so he's giving out put and call numbers. So the calls and the puts that are coming out on those individual tickers. Mostly he's trading AMD. I think AMD is what the bot's trading actually by itself, and then he has a track of all the other tickers as well. Yeah, no problem. 12105. So look to see if this thing holds this 87.5 here, 87.75. And if it does, we should be green. Remember, it needs to pop this 80 or 93, excuse me, to show us that this is not just a bit of short covering in these single prints. We want to see some buying start to continue up above that 93 action. It looks like shorts are getting busy at the 90 here. They just can't. They're just not making any progression. It looks like everything just kind of flipped. The ping pong continues. Cash VWAP right here at the 92. Offer comes in on the 91.5 right there, moves down. You still got that weak spot right there, 92.25. Is Jared in here? Let me see. Where's he at? Jared, where are you? Oh no, yeah. I know he's awake because he texted me this morning. So you're still seeing the kind of a double distribution here from when all these longs liquidated, momentum shorts piled on, got trapped down at the 87, but still just looking like mostly just short covering here. No real conviction to push up above that 93 yet. When you say weak spot on the profile, how do you use that information? So I use it as well, and so it's tough because if I do, let me detach this. Detach. Okay, so when we're looking at my DOM here, I reset this a lot. And so when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at this as a weak spot. So we traded down through this and it gives us a weak spot on the profile, but I'm clearing it a lot, like fairly often here to try to, see where these weak spots come in at. And so I'm writing them down on my paper, well, on my iPad, my notes, but like right there, we just see a liquidation and then a weak spot forms right here on the 90.50 from a liquidation. See offer moving down, offer moving down. And so that's kind of how I'm using that information, just to see how the reaction is at that level, right? So we know our 92.25 was our weak spot before. If the market doesn't trade back up there and repair that, that tells us that that little bounce that we just saw was probably just a bit of short covering, which is why we're coming back down here, because if there was actual buyers, they should have just jumped right up through that. You know what I mean? Because it's weak. There was no offer there. There was no ping pong paddle there getting ready to smack it down. It was up at the 93, right? That's where the offer was at. And so if it can't even break through this little weak spot, that just kind of shows us that same idea. And then we come down here and you get 5 contracts traded below the open. You saw where momentum traders piled in, which is at the 80. And this is all information that we can see, through the TPO. The reason I don't like to show the DOM very much, and I'd rather just describe it than show it, is because until you understand like what the market's trying to do without the DOM, adding the DOM is just going to most likely cause you to overtrade, in my opinion. And that's what I see, like extremely often, is people first jump on the DOM and they just fucking just get trigger happy and just boom, click here, click there. Oh shit, I seen this. Click, 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 click. And it's great if you can scalp with the DOM, but if you don't have control of your psychology, what happens is the people that use the DOM don't get out of their positions when they should. Right? So it's easy to jump into a position, but it's a little bit harder to accept defeat, right? And that's, like I've always said, is probably one of my best assets is that I am so willing to close a trade for a loss, right? Not that that's like this amazing talent, but there's a lot of people that are just not able to do that. They're not willing to accept a loss. They're willing to take heat for days, just for the market to come back, and then they feel satisfactory about it, right? They're like, oh well, I was right, even though I took $500 of heat and made $50 off that trade, I was still right. And it's like, and so that's why I don't really like to. I don't really like the dom. The dom could come in to help you, and really I don't even really use the DOM. I just like that you can reset that volume profile over and over. Like if I could just right click right here and just reset this volume profile over and over, I would do that instead. It would just be one less chart that I have to have on my computer. I just like, that's really why I like it, is because you can just reset it whenever you want. It just gives me a little bit more insight, I think, to the current auction. But if you don't have a real grasp on the auction itself anyways, it's going to be, in my opinion, more detrimental than anything, to be honest. Yeah, I agree, Roach. To trade the Dom, you've got to be a really good loser. Exactly. And that's why I try to shy everybody away from it, because, like I said, I hate to call it a talent, but I'm really good at just being like, well, fuck, lose, and I just close the loss, right? I'm quick at it. I have my hotkey set up for it. Like, I'm willing to understand that I've lost. I don't really sit around and be like, oh, well, it's gonna come back, right? I'm just like, fuck. It's like when you're playing a sport and you know, what's a good way to say it? Like, so let's say you're playing golf, right? Everybody knows what golf is around the world. You're playing golf and you go for a putt and you're playing for some cash, right? As everyone does. That's what golf's all about, drinking and gambling. And and you miss the putt, right? And you're on hole number 2. You say, no, 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 double or nothing, double or nothing, double or nothing, right? Not me. I'm like, I'll win the next hole, okay? And that's the thing, is most people, because they're not really in tune with their own psychology, they'll just keep doubling down on that fucking putt forever, and they'll just miss it all goddamn day. I mean, you guys have seen White Man Can't Jump, right? Most of you guys, some of you guys, all of you guys. If you haven't, you should fucking today watch it. Classic Wesley Snipes,
It's a little older, but it's a good
Woody
show.
Harrelson. Yeah, yeah, it's an older movie, but it's really good. But think about the time in that movie where he bets on being able to dunk the ball, right? He just keeps betting, and he loses all his fucking money. He loses his rent money, loses everything, because he doesn't understand, like, it's just not that one trade is not going to make or break who you are as a trader, and not being able to understand that as a trader is a real lack of psychological, conviction, really, or understanding of your own psychology. And that's really what gets people into that hot water. So, long story short, the Dom can be a great tool, but it can also put you in the deep water with Kendrick Lamar, Dr. J. Speaking of rap, I don't know if anyone's big into rap, but The Game just dissed Eminem. Big mistake. Huge. So I'm kind of excited for the reply. I love to see a nice rap beef. Reminds me of the 90s.
Hey, did you know David Duchovny was the original person they wanted to use for White Men Can't Jump, but he couldn't play basketball?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, he could play basketball, but he couldn't shoot. So, in other words, he sucked. Woody Harrelson is not a bad player. He just can't jump. Literally.
I love Woody Harrelson. I think he's really talented.
Who's David Duchovny?
Google.
Californication. If you want to see him in full, and also the X Files.
Oh, right. Okay, I got you. Yeah, Woody Harrelson would be better.
Two totally different actors.
I actually just started watching Venom #2 yesterday. I didn't even know
I
Woody
just can't
Harrelson
believe
was in it.
after after 3 years, that bitch still didn't believe anything he had to say. I mean, it was getting kind of old. You know what I mean?
What was?
Next Files. She still doubted him after seeing everything she's seen. She still doubted him on everything.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You never watched X Files?
Nah.
Yeah, she always doubted him. No matter how many aliens she saw, she still didn't believe anything he had to say.
You mean the girl in the movie, the girl in that TV show?
Yeah, in the show, right?
Yeah,
She always doubted him. It's like, bitch, you've seen everything. Like, how can you doubt anything he's got to say?
what?
I don't know what the hell he's saying. He talks too fast.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, what are you saying?
I'm saying in the show, she always doubted everything that he had to say. Every time he said, "Oh, it's an alien," or whatever, and she's always like, "No, no, no," even though every show he proves her wrong, and then the next show she still doubts him.
You got to have that. I mean, what were you thinking when you saw that? Were you thinking, "Oh my God, I can't believe she doesn't believe it this time"?
Yeah, after about the third season, I was like, "Look, lady, you gotta believe him.
Huh.
It's really an alien, for sure."
She was the good cop. He was the bad cop. He was the guy who always believed that there could be something else, and she was always the one that believed that there's no way there's anything else every single time.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
That's what made that show great.
We're starting to see the weighted sector roll over here a little bit. Starting to get pretty negative. The NASDAQ breath's picking up, and we can see the NASDAQ is just one time framing lower. I know these are 15-minute bars, but pretty much just trading lower here for the most part. The ES, did break the A low, but not able to break down into that lower distribution yet. Crypto Mojo, good morning, bro. Yeah, it does seem like Woody Harrelson would be like super chill to hang out with. Yeah, it seems like he would just be like a normal dude and wouldn't be like a douche or anything. Agree with that.
Yeah, I think he owns like some hangout places in Hawaii, with some bars or something.
Yeah, Tommy, that's a good perspective. Tommy said a lot of team games you can pass the blame over to someone else, and that is one way to improve your psychology, losing 1v1 and stuff. Golf and sparring, yeah. Yeah, one time my dad and I were playing a game on the Xbox, golf. It's the old Tiger Woods game, and we were betting money on the game naturally because that's part of golf. And we tied like, I want to say like 12 or 13 holes in a row. And then I just sunk this fucking lucky ass eagle from like 165 yards out, a video game. And man, whew, did that controller just fucking dissipate into thin air. My dad grabbed that thing by the cord and just
so
fucking
funny.
smashed it in the table. Like,
Yeah,
you can
I
ever see the
remember that.
inside of an Xbox controller.
That was the equivalent of you fucking not even looking at the basket and throwing up that fucking shot that you beat me for the first time at playing basketball.
Yep.
It's demoralizing. It's like, no fucking way. You didn't even, it's like God came down and said, you know what? Let's just fuck with Lincoln a little bit right here.
That's what God does. God tries to help you grow by testing your shortcomings,
He tested it for sure.
He's like, well, that didn't work.
Yeah. All right. I was like, all right, hold on a second. I got to get that other controller. So you have to wait a couple minutes because I got to cut it out of the packaging.
Lincoln needs a little dish of humility right here.
Curtis, turn that
Exactly.
air conditioner back on. It feels good, I think, like, I'd never been like a breaker of things. But like just to, like just to curse or just to, get mad, it like helps me get through some of those emotions, you know. That's why, like, you know, having a punching bag, I think everybody should have it, even if you don't really know how to punch. Just getting out there and just, you know,
I have a
taking some
pile of
anger out.
broken mouses. I have a stack of broken mouses over here.
Yeah, I never broken a mouse, but
Man, have you guys seen how Hanover and actually a couple places in UK are turning off the lights at night and hot water at night?
yeah, they've been talking about that, doing these rolling blackouts over there.
And Paris is pretty scary anyway, and to shut the lights off at night, it's kind of like Fallujah.
Fallujah. I don't know if it's quite that bad. Fallujah was pretty bad.
With no lights, I can't even imagine.
Just like the olden days, bro. Get your candles out and burn those candles. Like, what's that? Cat Williams? It's like, he says, I got a stack of candles and I've been waiting to burn them bitches.
I'm talking about street lights they're taking off.
Yeah, I know. I'm just making a joke.
That's-
Yeah, they won't turn them off in London, and you won't see it like any of the rich people get their power shut off. That's like they always say, what's that old adage? Like, a drought is for poor people, right? They don't you know, things like that don't affect rich people. And in the United States, we're getting to that point where you're pretty much either rich or poor. There's the middle class is slowly dissipating. The worst city, Fallujah. Yeah, I had some buddies that were in Fallujah, and I mean, just the stories that you hear, you're just like, fuck that. They literally went around in Fallujah, the Americans did, and said it's time to go, and if you don't go now, you might not get a chance to go. So they threw flyers out so everyone could read them because not everyone spoke English, and we're like, now's your chance to get the fuck out. And if you don't get out, don't cry about it. And they just murdered everybody. I mean, it'd bring this thing dark, but I mean, not much really going on here, guys. Just chop, chop, and more chop. I'm just over here playing with some Legos, making sure I keep my hands busy so I don't get involved in any of this junk. I'm seeing technology start to turn around here a little bit. Look at Apple really picking up after looking down into that lower distribution, right? Came very mechanical, but if you were going to be a responsive buyer, where's a good spot to buy it from? Nice impulse level below. So now we'll look to see if Apple can get back above its open. You're seeing the sectors, you know, start to pick up a little bit here, and we're seeing that weighted sector start to flip back to the green side here. Still failing at that 93 level. Just over and over and over. Nasdaq's still looking weak. If Apple doesn't get accepted above and we start to see some more TPOs form down in that lower distribution, that would pretty much show acceptance, and this thing could really start picking up to the downside. AMD's just getting fucking smacked down almost 1 3/4% now. Apple's red down 0.5%, Google's down 0.7, Amazon down 0.25, Meta down 1.5, Netflix down 1.5, Microsoft down 0.87, Tesla even negative now 1.23. So the technology sector is really just getting hammered here. You know, just failing, you know, pretty hard. You see our two heaviest weighted sectors. We've got information technology and healthcare making up, what is that, 28, 38, 42% of the market negative. So it's going to be hard for the market really to just rally with 42% of the market red. But it is, you know, it's a little bit telling that you've got 42% of the market trading down, but the market's really not making any hard moves. So you wonder, are these shorts just covering? And that's what this is just short covering going in tech, or are we seeing some response from these sellers, right? Very mechanical high that has yet to break and has been holding, you know, for about the past, I'd say 45 minutes or so. This is why it's important to have like a fidget spinner or Lego or, you know, something to keep you busy so you can watch the market, right? You want to just keep your hands busy. You don't want something that's going to take your eyes off the market. Even a Rubik's Cube, you know, I like to use, because you don't necessarily need to look at a Rubik's Cube. You can just kind of spin it around.
Yep.
And so something just to keep you preoccupied.
Fidget cube.
A fidget cube, there you go.
I figured that was what you were sort of alluding at.
I was talking about a Rubik's Cube, yeah, because I have a Rubik's Cube.
A Rubik's Cube does too.
Yeah, if you get
But
like
solving
a nice...
it, you put a Rubik's Cube in my hand, I have to solve it. That's the problem.
That's what I do after my trade.
Yeah,
So
but you could solve it with your eyes closed.
Looking for a trade.
Well, I can't solve it with my eyes closed, but
You just gotta remember that
I'm
pattern.
not that good.
Can you solve a Rubik's Cube?
Yeah.
Yes, I can solve a Rubik's Cube.
It's just pattern, like memorization. That's all it is.
It's a sequence of movements. So you look at it, you look at the pattern, and then there's a sequence of movements to resolve a specific set of criteria based on that pattern.
Yeah.
And there's like, I don't know, I think there's, for me, which is probably not the most efficient way, I think there's 6 different, and keep in mind, they're mirrored. So it's technically 12, but they're 6, but they're mirrored. So one of them goes one way, one of them goes the other way. But it's just 6 different sequences to solve the entire cube.
The biggest fault for most people with the Rubik's Cube is that they don't understand that the colors have to be on the right sides. Like some people are like, you know, they solve one side, it's all white, and they're like, oh, I've solved one side, but sometimes that's like the farthest you are away from solving the whole puzzle.
Bot is
the
out.
sides have to match as well.
Bot closed.
Bot is out. Yeah, 466. 466.
Nice. Or last time the bot got out, the market turned around. So let's see if.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's showing indications that there may be a turnaround. I mean, I can only base it on. There were 2 days last week with the bot freaking nailed it, and it was very shortly after the bot got out that things turned in the exact opposite direction that it was going in. But yeah, I don't know. It could be just a fluke. And I mean, that next candle for AMD definitely would have taken a bit more.
Yeah, down about
Profit.
2% now.
But usually when the bot gets out, it's typically very soon or reasonably soon after that things either even out or go in the opposite direction. But I kind of wish it had stayed in. Holy crap, it's now up almost 20 cents from where it got out with 9 frickin' contracts. Man, oh well. It still made 466. I'm going to run away from it thinking that's, being good.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, considering I did absolutely nothing other than program it, yes. That's the part that I need to keep in the back of my head.
All right, take those emotions away from it.
Well, that's why the bot exists in the first place. No emotions. The bot doesn't give a shit. The market changes, I lose $1,000. Bot's like, shrugs its shoulders and says, well, you should have freaking traded yourself.
I'm thoroughly impressed with it, I gotta say.
Well, you know what? And here's the crazy part. I'm thoroughly impressed with it too, and I freaking wrote it. And mostly because I'm like, how the hell did I write that? Yeah, it amazes me every time it does really well. I'm like, how did that work?
So we're one time framing lower now here, coming close to that T2 high, back down into this lower distribution. All right, so this is where we're looking to see if the market's going to accept down here in this lower distribution, or if it's going to reject and trade back into the upper distribution. That C high is mechanical high right on the open as well, too. It's not in here. Yeah, AMD is slipping hard here.
Really good.
See if it breaks this level here. Traded right to that T2 low, AMD did.
Well, I'm still getting. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I've been showing these since the open. It's been really good.
Nice.
I'm still getting P counts out of it, so it seems like either there's more. I mean, it's dropped another
It
40
just broke that
cents.
low. But here's
Yeah.
yesterday's half back.
Really coming down now.
What? Then just skip it. So we've got weak spot on the profile right here, 81.75. Offer still moving down right there to kind of fill that in. Last offer that came in, bigger offer, was like 84 and then 86. Still moving down here.
I lied. It was in 12 contracts.
Yeah.
Well, it would typically, I'll say this, it did what I call a 3 candle buy when I wouldn't have expected it to, which usually for me, I'm sorry, it made 468, which usually is an indicator that things are going to get crazy and move down hard because it's just trying to hedge its bets. Because typically it would have only done 2 buys. It would have done the initial buy and then the double down, that's it. But today it did 4 different buys. Yeah, anyway, so I guess I decided to get out early because it wanted to go squander some of those winnings. The bot's a playa.
So the low of yesterday's value is sitting right here at 74.75. That seems like a target for acceptance would be that level down there, that 74.75 level. And we want to see acceptance here below this T2 high, right? So below this 82.75 would bring us, clearly in this lower distribution and, give us the confidence really to trade to this A excess. Crypto Lab says I have a buy order at 42.75. Oh, right at that value area low. Yeah, let's see. I mean, let's see if it gets accepted. If it gets back above the open, you might see, even more short covering. If you look at Apple, Apple didn't break that previous low here. So here's A, B, and C. C period didn't break the B low, even though the Nasdaq is turning down. The breadth is pretty weak. The tick is, fairly muted, not getting above that 0 level here. But yeah, I mean, the market just looks weak for the most part. I mean, you can see consumer discretionary has flipped red. That's the third heaviest weighted sector. So now you're talking 53% of the market is trading lower. But the key here, and the thing that's kind of holding me out of any trades at this point, is that like I just want to see some significance, right? Or some actual conviction from either side, really. And we just, I haven't been able to see that. And so for that reason, I'm just sitting on the sidelines, right? There might be some amazing trades setting up here, especially if we pop above the open again. There might be a nice trade back to the high, but it's a tough area to really decide, okay, I want to get long here, unless you're willing to just cut the trade quick. And most of the trades I've taken today, besides the very first trade I took and that overnight trade, have pretty much been for 2 or less points, to be honest. Been mostly scalping today. Volume's about 8% more than it was yesterday, which is
But hasn't
not.
the market pretty much been coming down since the open though?
I mean, not. It's pretty balanced. If you look at the opens 87.75, low is around 79, high is around 98. So the open's almost like right in the middle. You could see the half back is, 1 tick or 2 ticks above the open. I do think, I do think that now that we're back below the open, the better trades would be to the short side. But I'd like to see it stay below this 82.75. You could see where the volume came in down here. It's where those momentum traders started to pour in. I'd like to see it hold below this 82.75 in order to look for that short. I'm just not convinced, the conviction, the feeling is just not there. Here's that 82.75 level. Be too high. Seeing just, it seems like mechanical selling, you know what I mean? Like it seems like shorter time frame traders are just pouring in at this level, like, oh, very easy to see. It's a prior day's high. Let me just short right here. And so far, it seems like we've got an A mechanical high. We've got this C mechanical high sitting right at the open. Shorter time frame traders pretty much dominating this market for the most part.
I can't say it's going to continue, but it looks like it's a bounce. At least for AMD anyway.
Dude, I've never had a more boring 24-hour in BTC in my life. Yeah, Bitcoin's not really doing much, and that's another thing too that's kind of telling, I think, about the sentiment in the market is that there's just nobody that's, it's like everybody's bearish, but nobody's willing to sell. You know what I mean? No one, I mean, not heavily, right? As Bitcoin, I mean, for the most part, still just kind of sitting in balance and this upper balance range. So we can go ahead, let's copy this drawing here, clone it, and we'll move it here. That looks like the area where we should see buyers step up around this area to take it back to the center of balance, which would be that 24 level. Market approaching that 82.75 level here again. Too high. Come on, buddy. Okay. Just put him outside. He's a dog. He's a dog. He doesn't really get to choose what he wants. We tell him what he wants. Seeing Apple get a pretty decent bounce here off the lows, and look at the tick breaching above that 0. Right, we've seen it just get smacked down every time it's got above that 0, but here we'll see. I mean, still got another 2 minutes before it might get its first close above the 0 level. Watch the open, right? Remember we said that C high was mechanical. Yeah, Will, that's a tough one. Like, and that's where that psychology comes in. It just, I think Roach probably put it the best way. Like one of the best things you can do is be a good loser. That's, I mean, as weird as it sounds, like being a good loser in trading is a strength more than it sounds like it is. That's one thing that has helped my buddy Jared improve a ton, is that he probably the worst loser, least willing to admit that he was wrong or take a loss, and he's had I mean, I watched him lose 67 grand in a day before. I also watch him lose 65 grand in a day before and then make it back in the same day. So I mean, it's that's just gambling at that point, but it's all just because he's unwilling to admit defeat when sometimes it just, it's necessary.
So it does. It looks like it actually picked the turnaround. It did it again. I mean, obviously it wasn't exactly dead on. But if I'm looking at this chart, it hit it right about the time. So I mean, there was probably another 3 to 5% that I could have eked out of this thing, but I'll take that 3 to 5% for not doing a damn thing and having it work. So yeah, there you go. That's the third time.
Third time in 7 days.
Well, I think it was more than that, but we weren't really. I mean, I wasn't paying attention for the other days, but there was 2 that were really last week.
Because it was Tuesday and Thursday
distinct.
last week.
Yeah, and it freaking killed it both those days. Well, one of those days it made $1,100. I mean, you just can't beat that.
Definitely not. Yeah, the best way to learn with options is to paper trade first. 100%. Definitely you want to paper trade.
I paper traded for like 8 months before I got in. So as much as it looks like, oh, hey, he's making money with this bot, I created my method for how I traded so freaking long ago. and refined it and refined it and refined it and refined it. And one of the things that I found with paper trade, particularly in TD, is it'll do freaking unrealistic buys and sells. So you'll like put it in, let's just say I'm just gonna say you put in the buy at $1 and it'll buy at like 82 cents. And you're like, what the fuck? Where am I making that 18 cents? It just isn't happening. Or you put a sell in it at $1 and $1.25 and it sells it at like $1.65 and you're like, what? So you got to be really careful when you paper trade. You got to be realistic. Don't just take what they say. Go back and look at what that price was when you actually did the sell and the buy and see what would have been realistic and use your expectations based on that, not what they actually do it at least for TD.
And the key, just to add on to what my uncle's talking about, he said he used paper trading for 8 months, right? A lot of people aren't willing to put in that kind of effort to learn a craft or to develop a project that they're working on. They want it now, and that's what I think. I don't think it is they say 90% of day traders don't make it. I don't think it's because they just don't have what it takes. It's just because they run out of money before they get an opportunity to really learn, right? This is kind of one of the only places where you're jumping on the field with the pros right off the bat. And you don't need any prequals, right? Imagine if you could walk to the Dallas Cowboys stadium and be like, hey, I'm here for practice and I'm a quarterback. And they're like, all right, Dak, take a seat. Fucking Stacy's in for quarterback, and it's like, how do you think you're going to do with some 300-pound monsters trying to eat your lunch, like probably not very well. There's a lot of emotions that are going to be in there, right? And then even then, after you do paper trade and get comfortable with it after amount of time, you still have to keep refining your craft and working on your craft, right? There's still always things that are, needing development. We've got to remember we've got to continuously keep growing.
I will say this, when I created it, and then I actually started doing the bot, since then, I have modified the way the bot works and increased the amount of, so I do back testing all the way till August of last year. And originally it was making, let's just say it was making $1,000. That's not the realistic number, but I'm just going to say it was, let's say over that time frame, it pocketed $1,000. Since then, I've modified it and it makes 40% more than what it did when I originally started. So if it started at $1,000, it's now making $1,100 or $1,400, just because I've gone back and I've refined and modified that original model and then redo the back testing to say what would it have made. And that's how I'm actually making this thing to be better over time. And I mean, it's the same thing with trading though. If you find a new or better way to find those indicators, it's the same thing. I'm just doing it in code because that's my language of medium. Language of choice. There you go. Language of choice. Medium of choice.
And I do mine in explicits. Swears. That's my medium of choice. So you see the market pops that open, doesn't get much follow through, but we see a bit of selling come in, right there at that 87.5 again. So right there below the open. We're trading right back up to it right here though. No conviction really. And look at Apple trying to break that B high here. You're seeing the weighted sector. I mean, really no conviction on the weighted sectors, right? If we make this thing big and look at our weighted sectors, let's look at a couple more days. We could look at the past 10 days here, and we'll shrink. Come on, where's the button? Dude, sometimes my macro on my mouse doesn't work, and it's starting to piss me the fuck off. There we go. Okay. So we can see, so here's today, right? Really low conviction. Yesterday had really high. So did Friday. Even Thursday last week traded down pretty low. Wednesday pretty muted. So you can see just, there's really no conviction, these low conviction days here. And if we add these up, this is, what day was this? This was 2 weeks ago Friday. So that would have been, what's that, the 5th? Here, right? When it was kind of that. Okay. So here's the 5th here. That was kind of, a really muted day for the most part, just trading inside of balance. And then we had Monday where that weighted AD got really negative and the market squeezed up. That's the 8-8, and then 8-9 again, another muted day. 8-10, that gap up, still pretty muted day, really low confidence day. So you can just kind of see this weighted AD. It gives us a little bit of insight into the confidence of the market. So, even though it is negative, that's kind of what's holding me out of getting on the short side for the most part today, just because there's just no confidence, I think, right? I think they have all the keys, right? They've got the key to the door, but they're just afraid to open the door. And, when that happens, typically somebody else opens the door and it fucking hits them in the face. And that's kind of what looked like happened during that C period. To me, at least, that's kind of how it looked.
Doesn't look like it's turning around though.
It does.
I think his butt is right.
It was designed by a Haven, so pretty much has to be. Or superior. And if anyone can prove me wrong, I'd willing to take the battle. I've never met anybody and I've been all over the fucking world. I've never met anybody with the last name Haven that's not related to me. Not one person. So, I mean, that's just kind of, and it's not like it's not a common thing that you see, right? You see it like on every fucking neighborhood sign. Oh, Blue Haven neighborhood. Oh, this is the like, it's not like just, it's not like Stephanopoulos. Somebody got it. There we go. All right, Will, have a good day. Someone lost 600K on crypto, huh, Dan? That's a fucking a lot. Yeah, that's a good point, Dan, is like the volatility on crypto has been fairly muted lately. And I think, I think tomorrow when we get the Fed minutes, those come out probably in the afternoon. Let me double check here. I accidentally clicked the wrong button just now.
And for Doge and Shibu, they're trading in the billions right now. Volume, it's crazy.
Was Sheep down at 6 zeros? Remember Sean Chirptone in the Discord said if it was at 6 zeros, we're supposed to buy it.
I was trying to get to the mute. I was like, isn't it like a fraction of a penny? So I mean,
Yeah.
like if I buy $5 worth, that's like 2 billion, right?
Pretty low. What was I gonna look up? This thing. Tomorrow the Fed minutes come out at 2 o'clock, and then we get Bowman speaking after that at 2:20.
Doge is about 9 cents right now.
Yeah, if it doubles, I'm actually going to get back my $100.
It's a mixed bag on crypto for me. All of the alts are outperforming BTC. That recently, BTC is putting in a series of weak highs all week. Whenever BTC does get a big move on a weekend, when markets are closed and order book is thin, rising wedge, traditional markets going crazy and BTC can't move. Technicals tell me that BTC is probably going to be making its way back down to the lows. But what if BTC is just lagging and its upside is just suppressed? And that's not that's kind of what I'm thinking too, Dan. I really think that Bitcoin wants to trade up to that 27,000. I'm just not willing to put my money where my mouth is. Yeah, Tommy, I do. I think that the market could just stay in balance today, and I mean, we're still inside yesterday's range for the most part. But I do think that the market could just stay in balance until those minutes come out. They're really just kind of looking to see if Powell, you know, what he says in the minutes, right? They're really willing to see if because he's been pretty dovish, they say it, right? And so that's like bullish, I guess, in Fed terms, but they say he's pretty dovish, and doves fly up, I guess that makes sense. But we'll see what he says in the minutes, because a lot of times what Powell will do is he'll say one thing, and then when the press conference comes on, he'll just tiptoe around everything that he actually said. So the Fed minutes, is a recording of the meeting, or basically a manuscript of the meeting that they had, and so we'll get to see how he acts in that meeting, right? Is he gonna agree with Kaskari? The San Francisco Fed, she seems to think that the market really is too high. And so that's what everyone's going to be keying in on those minutes. And for that, like tomorrow, what I'll do, and I'll just show you guys right now, the market's not doing anything, is I'll pull up YouTube, and I'll go to my buddy Josh's channel right here, the Stock Market Live. He has some of the fastest news that comes out. It gets kind of crazy in here, but when the news comes out, he's always like dead on top of it, of any news. That's how he trades. Mostly he trades options, but he mostly is trading news, and it's because he has he just has like the biggest just like a big amount of friends that are just pure pumping news and reading all of the Fed minutes and stuff. So I think that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. He'll give us a little bit more insight so we don't make any huge mistakes. Economy strong, market strong. If inflation is a problem, why not fight it more aggressively now? Yeah, I mean, that's what Kashkari keeps saying. She wants to keep raising rates. But the thing is, they don't want to overdo it either, because you got to remember it's all political, right? And we've got the lowest unemployment rate ever in the history of unemployment. So, if you start to fight it too much, these big people that are making all this money are going to start seeing a little bit of money slip out of their pocket, and they don't like that, right? Because they like to go to work every day and just have this bank account, because people love power. You know what I mean? That's what so many people are driven by. It's why they can't just catch one fish a day and be happy. They've got to hire a team, a fleet of boats, and drain the ocean full of fish. Right? Or we're just sitting here on the side of the river just trying to catch a fish, I just don't understand. But, some people, that's what they need, right? Some people need to drive, a fucking Maserati. Some people
or make a missile that looks like their penis. I mean, looks like a penis.
Right. Or make a missile that, looks like a giant dick. Like, that people, that's what some people need.
He's compensating. Talk about that's like the ultimate compensation.
Right. Yeah. That's like the biggest lifted truck we've ever seen. Lifted it into space. And that's the thing, is like, that's kind of my disagreement with, people love Elon, and he has his views, and he's a coolish dude, but he wastes money on shit. He's all about saving the world, but he does waste money. He shot a car into space on, how much did that cost? Right? Yeah, he's got dispensable income because he's the richest or second richest man in the world right now. I'm not really sure. But you know, is that really saving the planet?
You know whose car that was?
Whose was it?
It was his
The original
ex-business partner, the guy that actually started Tesla, because he was guaranteed the first Tesla that rolled off the line, and so Elon shot it out of space.
That's hilarious. And it's funny, you know. It's funny, but like, is it
But it's him. It's him swinging his dick around.
right?
That's what
funny.
that was.
Right, and it's like, you know,
That's all that was.
you claim to be all about, you know, saving mankind, but that's not, you know, that money could have been spent better. Just like, I mean, I could go on for days about all the money the United States spends on worthless shit too, but you know,
I'm not believing he's living in a tiny home with his 5 kids.
I think
It's
the United
crazy.
States has issues starting with the IRS. Oh, sorry,
Twin-
didn't mean to interrupt.
Very good.
yeah, I'm sure that there'll be some audits next year. Mostly the people that cashed out big on crypto and didn't pay taxes on it are gonna get a call. Hopefully you save some of that money if you made money on crypto, because you're gonna pay taxes on it, I'm sure. At least they're gonna try to make you pay taxes on it. I'll let you guys know how that goes. I'm sure the knock will be coming.
Taxes are for poor people.
That's true. If you're rich enough to hire a lawyer to get you out of paying taxes, or just donate all of your money to your own charity, no taxes. You know what I saw actually come up on my my feed yesterday was the Euphrates River is dried up, and they found like some what they're calling, you know, dungeons where they kept those 4 fallen angels in, and now they're released and they're gonna kill a third of the world. You know, if you're religious. BT seems pretty bearish technically, also with legacy markets rallying for some time. Now I think profit taking might be coming soon, which could lead crypto to the downside. Yeah, and really a breakout on Bitcoin either to the upside or the downside will give us some insight of, is the market willing to put risk on or take risk, or are they taking risk off big time? Excuse me. I'll be right back. So it looks like we're just slowly stacking mechanical references up above here. Seeing the breadth turn pretty negative. Discretionary's flipped back to positive. XLK still catching a little bit of a bid here, but you're seeing, you know, really that tick just getting sold off every time it climbs above. Apple trying to get above a long-term trend and back above its open.
be interesting to see if they indict Trump.
Yeah, that's probably what will start like a gigantic
Civil War.
uprising. Yeah, something like that. Which is kind of depressing, to be honest. Like, I wish people would unite about something.
Over a fucking game show host.
Yeah, I wish people would unite over like the fact that we're just getting taxed up the ass with everything, and that like all of our politicians are corrupt and fucking just
Yeah,
worthless
look,
as shit.
Look over here.
But
Look over here, shiny object.
yeah. Yeah, not even getting to those 32 points today, Tommy, for real, yeah. And we're
We have
using
so much more common.
we're seeing that Brad balance hold so far, that C low and A high. This is what we've referred to now as the Brad balance. James hates it, by the way. I talked to him about it, and he's like, "You're an idiot." I was like, well. So back at the open here. Fuck yes. Oh, thank God. Just got news that the close will be this Friday. Oh, thank the Lord. So there won't be any stream on Friday. Just a heads up. I know today's only Tuesdays, but you got some time to prepare. I'll be closing on Friday, so I won't be trading.
Get in the house.
Getting in the
Woo,
house
congrats.
finally. Appreciate it. Be nice. That's when the real work starts.
Yeah, I was starting to feel like you were building a house. Jeez.
For real. Fuck.
What building permit were you talking about?
I'm basically gonna be my wife's already got a checklist of shit that we need to do. I'm like, fuck. Should have just spent more money and bought a house I want. I already had everything done. But it's nice. I mean, I'm really happy with it. It's nice. The building permits I was talking about was a economic data release about new houses getting built, which came in about 10% less than the previous month. You got a profile for every 30-minute bar, one-time framing with value shifting down. Oh yeah, that makes sense. D period though, I mean, we didn't get a cessation there, but you can see like where the volume's at. It's in definitely that lower half of the profile so far. It looks like today might be one of those days that we can classify from the book if there is a break of the A high. So something Jim Dalton talks about, when he talks about initial balance, which is A and B, you get a break of the B low. If there's a break of the A high, he calls that a neutral extreme day. And typically wherever the profile finishes, so let's say that the halfback is actually here, excuse me. Halfback is, pretty much right on that point of control. If the market finishes in that upper extreme, there's like a 90% chance that the next day it trades up. And if it finishes in the lower extreme, there's like a 90% chance that it trades down the following day. Obviously these are odds and probabilities, so nothing is for certain, but if you do get a break of that A high, that would be something you
Can you
definitely
repeat
want to
that again?
monitor for. So on a neutral extreme day, when you have a break of the initial balance and then a re-enter into value, and then if you break the other side of initial balance, which would be the A high, market comes up, you know, does whatever it does. Let's say it just forms here, but if it finishes up, you know, in that A period or above, there's a 90% chance that it trades back up the next day. And then the same thing to the downside. If it finishes down in the low, there's a 90% chance that it trades lower the next day, right? Because it's like a tug of war is what Jim Dalton always refers to it as, right? Tug of war of buyers and sellers, with the knot being right at that half back. Well, if you pull the knot all the way down to here, and then the knot gets pulled all the way back up to here, and then you settle, right? It would have to break the A high for it to classify, but they settle in that A period. The odds are that it gets that continuation for the next day, right? And the odds are fairly high, especially now that we've had a cessation of one time framing, that A high gets taken out because of how mechanical it is, right? Sitting right on the settle.
And the reason you say that, right? Because the mechanical part is just because it's short time frame people that are just going to hit the flat button and get out of their position, which is going to cause it to continue up. Is that what you're thinking?
Exactly, right. They have low conviction. These shorter time frame traders have low conviction when it comes to holding a position. Whereas if we jump out here, right, and look at the ES, if we're thinking in longer term trades, right, or longer term traders, if you, let's say you wanted to build a long term short position and you had that long money, right? Well, this is an advantageous spot to start a short, right? And you can hold a short because you've got the margin. So you start your short position here, right? You've got this equilibrium here. This is the next spot you're going to sell some, right? For us as day traders, that, you know, 200 points that we're looking at, we're like, fuck that, I would never hold a position. You know, that's just not going to happen, right? Even if the market, if we knew for sure the market was going to trade down to here, which we never know for sure, but let's just say, even if we had that insight, or something was telling us that, you know, we could get down to that position, we're not really willing to hold through that much heat. Whereas this guy, you know, this is how he's planned his trade. He's a longer term trader. So these daytime frame traders that are selling this settle here, and they sold it off the settle, and they were successful, right? They were able to hold it down, and we saw them pile in this 93.50 level, right? That's where we saw when we came back down in B period, a bunch of sellers piled in, and the market started to, you know, piss down a little bit. They're not willing to hold this because they don't know, they're not seeing anything past this. This is all they see, right? They've got these fucking huge thick walls all around, and they don't see anything. They don't see that this area might be an advantageous spot for sellers to short it, and this thing might just pop and come right back down, because this is a spot where responsive sellers might be sitting at. They're not noticing that. They're just noticing that, okay, I need to get the fuck out because it's back above my position. And that's basically what we play off of here. Is we play off of those weak-handed traders and try to position ourselves with those long-term traders. All right, so we had that look down into lower balance, failure to get accepted, popped above the open, got long, and now we're looking to repair that poor high. And shout out to the bot. It was a little early, but, you know, pretty hard to time everything exactly. The Apple's starting to catch it on the upside here as well, looking to break out. You're seeing technology get pretty close to green as well. Look at this here, 0.07. Energy sector is really the lagging sector today for the most part. Is the garbage man out there, Curtis? Is the garbage man out there? What's he barking at? Oh, just leave him. He's fine. Income tax, sales tax, property tax, gains tax. Yeah, they want us to be poor. Yeah, they do. They just try to take all of our dollars, bro. It's fucking old. Getting fucking old.
Especially when she's pissed away all day.
Just what?
Especially when your taxman just pissed away all day on stupid shit, you know.
Yeah, it's not like it's going to
I mean, every
anything
country in the world, we can't
useful.
pay teachers. You know.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of money is spent on um like uh distraction. That's what I feel.
The truth is, we don't even know where the money's spent at. We have all these books that we don't even have access to. That you know, this Black Ops, this you know, what I mean, who knows where the money's really going?
Yep, true. Maybe it's going to build the wall in Antarctica to keep the Earth flat. Never know, right?
Say it again.
I said maybe it's going to repair the wall in Antarctica so keep this Earth flat and keep the Truman Show alive. Tough to tell, you know. And we could argue about it, but you know, no one really knows. I've never been to Antarctica, so
Well,
not that I believe in flat Earth, but I'm just saying, like, I know there's a lot of flat Earth believers out there. Jared being one of them.
Wait, seriously?
I don't know if he's like a full-on flat Earth believer, but he's just not sure that the Earth is round. That's for sure. We've had some good discussions about it. I like stuff like that, to be honest. Like I like to talk about stuff like that because it really does make you think, you know, especially if someone is well versed in it, right? Like I love debating, and not that I pick a side, like a religious side or a science side either way, because I'm more of a spiritual person than, you know, pick a single religion. But I can see both sides of everything, and I kind of think that they just go hand in hand. But I like debating with people that are really close-minded and one-sided when it comes to things like that, and that's where people have strong convictions on really really tough topics like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a flat earther, but why don't the oceans leak? If the Earth is round, what holds the ocean to the Earth?
Right. And then you have a
If
science
you say
made up about
some
gravity.
people, well, they say gravity, but then why, when I pour it out of a glass of water, it hits the ground?
Yeah, and then I mean,
I'm sure there's an explanation, but I don't know.
Right. That's what they should educate people more on, is stuff like that, you know, like
Yeah.
because what did they say? Clouds, was it clouds or smoke or something? Something has a lower density than water. Fuck, I can't remember, but I was reading something about it, right? Because it is interesting to me to see these points of view. So there's a break of that Globex high now. So now it looks like that neutral extreme day is starting to form. What time is it? Oh yeah, go ahead. It's 11:20, but yeah. There's something like that the smoke or something like that is like should be underwater, right? It shouldn't hold above water because of the density and blah blah blah, you know. And that's the easy way to explain everything, right? Gravity, right? Oh yeah, well it's held by gravity, right? And it's easy to like there's so much just acceptance about it. And for me, I've never been that person to just accept something for truth. And I don't implore anyone to be like that, right? You should always research everything
You
if
should
you're gonna
always
have
want to know the why.
right, or just don't have any conviction about it. You know what I mean? Like some
Yeah.
people are willing to fucking fight you tooth and nail about something that you've studied hard and they've never looked up in their life, and they're like, "Oh no, this is why." And it's like, well, you know, now that you've watched a fucking, you know, 3-minute Facebook video or a 30-second TikTok video, you're a fucking expert, but you've never done any research. And that's when most of their replies become, right, well, gravity, right? They don't have any, there's no real reply, right? It's just like, well, because of gravity. And they're like, you don't know how gravity works? And it's like, well, do you fucking know how gravity works? Are you a science? Like, did you ever research it? Or like carbon dating, right? There's a big discrepancy of how old is the Earth, right? Is it 4,500 years old, or is it 65 million or billion or whatever it is, right? You know, you could argue about that with someone all day, depending upon what side they pick, but they've never really looked into how they do the carbon dating. And if you do research it, you know, and if you haven't, do some research about it, right? It's an interesting read.
Yeah,
right?
find out why the moon is older than the Earth. That's a good one.
You know, there's some interesting information out there, and really, like I said, you've got to. It's up to you to decide, is that going to be your belief? Are you going to have conviction about it? And like I said, it really does just come back to belief.
Well, just low hanging fruit like the pyramids. I mean, you know, they got these professors that are literally trying to tell people that they used, you know, palm trees as rollers and roll these massive bricks up or blocks up these ramps. It's like, are you kidding me?
And you know what? I watched a video about whenever they discover something from older civilizations, it really is the only thing that lasts is like the stone, right? Because everything else pretty much breaks down. Wood breaks down, goes back into the earth. Even metal, even like steel bridges and stuff will eventually just be, you know, overwhelmed by either the ocean or by a forest or something like that. Concrete breaks down, right? Everything breaks down except for these stones. And so they find some of these archaeological finds, and the guy was arguing that the pre humans that we are now, right? Whatever our time started, you go back to like the Romans. And the reason that we can only see the Colosseum, and then you go back to the Egyptians, and the reason we only see the pyramids is not because they were unadvanced and couldn't build houses out of wood or couldn't do things like that. It's just that's the only thing that lasted. So basically, the guy was arguing that the scientific technology was there back then, similar to what ours is now. And what happens is we get so advanced and overpopulate and kind of destroy all of our resources. And that's when the earth kind of gets reset. And, it's been, yeah, I'm not trying to play semantics, but they say like it's been reset 3 times, right? One time a fucking meteor hit it and it blew up. And then another guy, another time, the earth flooded, killed everybody. I think that was it. It was Graham Hancock, yeah. And I'm not saying like I'm picking a side, believing either way. It's just, those are kind of things that get your mind to think. Like, you've been told your entire life that the earth is round and it's a globe. And have you done any of your own research about it? Right? And that's one thing I really teach my kids is not to take anything just because someone told you it. Right? So a lot of people tell you guys that the Cowboys aren't the best team in the world, and they fucking are, right? But look at you guys fucking liking the Giants or some shit, or the Jets even, well, fuck. you know. But you know what I mean? And I like to make light of it because there's no way to prove it. And that's the thing that kills me, is that people can't just have like a nice conversation about it. They've got to get bent out of shape because they've got to be right. And this all comes back to trading. And it becomes to your understanding your personal psychology. If you have a disagreement with yourself or with another person or with the market, and you're in a long trade and the market's telling you everything that it's not, that you know, the earth is fucking flat, and you're like, no bitch, the earth is round, and you are so unwilling to even just look at the market from a different perspective, you'll hold a loser forever, right? And that, I mean, that's because you're not getting into these situations, letting your mind be creative and think outside the box, right? And get some of these jets. Oh goddamn, fucking butt fumbled jets. But you know, it's not, you're not letting your mind get into these, you know, open conversations because you go into them closed-minded, right? Just like I've always said, when it comes to trading, if someone brings me an idea or someone has a different way that they trade that's been, you know, working, I'm not just going to disregard them completely. Oh, it looks like we're about to, if we don't get back below 4,300 here, this thing's just going to go. Buyers just stepped up hard up here, it looks like to me. Watch this 4,300 as a fulcrum. There's a lot of volume starting to pour in up here comparatively. And you're starting to see the weighted sectors really turn, and Apple's starting to gas. So, but you guys know what I mean? Like if someone brings something to me that's working for them, and I'm not just going to be like, profile is the only thing, you know, it's, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? And knowing all of them, or at least being open-minded to all of them, and understanding that they're all a possibility, and understanding that you can be wrong, is really going to help you improve your psychology, and not only just make your life better, but it'll improve your trading, which is the whole goal here, right? We all want to improve our trading and enjoy our time that we have. And if you can't look outside the box or think outside the box because you're convinced that the earth is flat and we're in a dome, you know, you're never going to break through that and see what's on the other side of the Truman Show, right? You're going to be trapped in that bubble forever.
What's on the dark side of the moon?
Look, Pink Floyd's my boy. So, but you know what I mean? Like,
It does suck to know that whatever they teach in school is definitely not the right thing. So you just, yeah. It's just terrible.
so here we go. We're starting to move up here, guys. Be careful for this thing just to start going. 43.11 is going to be the target here on the upside after a break of that prior day high. It didn't fill your order at 42.75. Yeah, it didn't come down there. That's why. The C low was only 79. Yeah. Maya, just let him outside. Oh, and good news for the dog. Warden didn't have an umbilical hernia like we thought. It's just a fatty tissue. So thank God. And the vet was pretty impressed with his size. He weighed 107 pounds. It was funny because I mean, this dog is, you know, he's 100 all the time. But, you know, yesterday he took a bunch of trazodone before he went to the vet. And so he was all fucking loopy and shit. And you could tell the drive was still there, but he just like, he couldn't get his muscles to work in conjunction with his brain. Like went outside and he just fucking laid down. And normally he's like outside, you know, herding the kids around.
What vet do you take him to?
What was that? I don't remember what the vet was called. The vet, his ex-wife used to raise German Shepherds, or used to breed German Shepherds. So he's really used to German Shepherds. It's right here down
Yeah.
in North Scranton.
I don't know who that would be.
Can't remember the name. My father-in-law knows all the stuff. I'm still pretty new to the
Yeah.
Scranton. I did go up to that McDade Park this weekend. Oh, let me show you guys this picture. I'll post it I'll post it in the Discord and then I'll pull it up on stream. It's I took a dope picture this weekend. VIX just broke below that 1980, that level that we marked this morning. So, like I said, at 4,300, looked like liftoff was clear as ready to go.
Yeah, McDade's nice.
Yeah, it was nice. We walked back in the trails.
Yeah.
It was pretty
I
fun.
used to run up that road. That's called Snake Road. That road. It's like a steep hill.
Yeah,
The
really
road
steep
that
hill.
it's on, the Snake Road. It's real snaky. I used to run up it. It's a good run, But
Cool.
I used to have to walk down it. It sucked walking back down because I didn't want to run down it because it kills your knees. But
Adam Buzzard said you guys should probably stick to trading. See ya. He missed the whole point of that conversation. That whole point of conversation was about psychology, but he got too
plus the
close-minded,
market's not doing
pissed
it.
off. Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, it just broke out now, but I mean, before that, it wasn't doing shit.
Yeah, that's a fact. I saw this frog yesterday. If you guys can see the screen, pretty dope looking frog.
That is a dope looking frog.
Yeah, I was up there at that. We went
Like
off the
it's
trail.
posing for you. It's posing for you.
Well, my son poked it with a stick, and then it started aiming at us. Like it just sat right in front of us and just like kind of stared at us, and was like,
Yeah,
do
there's
it
a
again,
pond
motherfucker."
back there. Is that where you went? There's like a pond back there behind the.
We like hiked up into like near the turnpike where the turnpike's at.
Yeah,
There's a
there's a
little
pond
creek.
back there.
Yeah.
And we got a big snake back there with my kids one day.
Nice.
But Lackawanna State Park's another nice one. It's not far. There's a lot of hiking up there too.
Yeah, I'll have to head up there and check it out.
Not a ton, but I mean it's bigger than McDade. It's a bigger park than McDade. It's got a big lake. Pretty nice. It's not far either. 15 minutes for you probably, if that.
Oh yeah, that's not bad at all.
Nah, from North Scranton, I can't. It's like through Clark. You go through Clark Summit. It's up the top there. It might be 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Poor Adam Blizzard or Buzzard. See, those are the kind of people I feel bad for. Unwilling to open his mind and just have a conversation about something that
What happens to make that mad? We're talking about.
He said you guys should probably stick to trading. See ya.
Oh, okay. I hope he didn't give you a thumbs down too.
No, not yet. I think Crypto Face must have forgot about me now that we're not doing a bunch of crypto trading. He doesn't come in the stream every day and give the thumbs down.
Well, we found out he was sim trading, so it's that aspect.
Yeah. He probably still has a million fucking degen, so. So the key here is going to be acceptance above or above this M high or back inside range, right? If they don't find the buyers willing to initiate up here, then probably revert back to the mean. But it did look like a lot of buyers, and you can see the volume coming in right here on that 4,300. E period came down, tested that 4,300, bid was still there, popped the top there. So it's kind of opened the can of worms here to get above that 200 SMA. But we're probably seeing, and if we look on the daily chart too, the 200 is probably down a couple ticks. Yeah, it is. So we're seeing it pretty much at 43.09. So you're probably getting some people getting short up here based off of this 200 SMA on the daily. I draw mine before the day opens and just keep it there. That's where I'd like to reference it from. Make it a little bit more static than more of a dynamic. See the Dow's leading up here. Oil's
I got a
still
question
coming down.
for you.
Yeah, what's up?
So I'm watching the buy and ask, I'm watching the order book, you know, and it's $1.003, you know, $1.04, and it's going back and forth. And all of a sudden the price goes to 99 cents, which is like a third of the price up. But the buy and sell doesn't move any, just the price. How is that possible? There's not like a big wick or anything. It's just, I mean, does that mean that they allow to buy and a sell at a way cheaper price? And then
Yeah, you're trading
it just
crypto?
move- Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically because of those exchanges lack of regulation, they can pretty much do whatever they want. So if a bigger buyer, like imagine if I'm an exchange and you're Warren Buffett and you come to me and say, "Hey, I want to buy a bunch of crypto on your exchange," because they don't care about the price. They're trying to make the money off the commission. And so, a large order comes in, it's like, "Hey, I want to buy this price, but I don't want to buy it up here. I want to buy it down there." You see the same thing in stocks. If we let me pull this up here and let's switch to
There was a problem I was noticing too, and I was trading some of these smaller cryptos, is that I was the biggest trader of sometimes. And so I'm trading like, whatever, 40,000, whatever, and everybody else is trading like 400 or 800, you know what I mean? Even though it's not even that much money. So I wasn't getting a lot to fill. So I don't know, that was kind of weird too. I thought, so I'm trying to only trade like, I guess like Bitcoin now, because some of these smaller ones they're not getting filled.
trying to find one of these wicks. I've seen them before where they're just almost mind blowing.
So but that means they had to allow a buyer and a seller though, right? I mean,
Well, the seller is the exchange. The market maker is taking the other side.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'll find one and post a picture of it. I've seen them plenty of times. I don't know if it was in Apple, but there's been instances before for sure of like big wicks on stocks, and it's just because a bigger player is coming into the market and saying, "Hey, I want to buy all these Apple shares," and there's a lot of outstanding shares, you know what I mean? So it's not really necessarily that they have to take the other side either. It's just that they've got outstanding shares, they've got liquidity that they want to get rid of. That initial balance breakout was strong, right? And then it didn't close singles. They stepped up right on a very psychological level. I don't know if we could call it mechanical because it's more psychological than anything. Willing to accept that price at a higher level. Shit, where was the last? It was 94.75.
That also stops a bunch of people out too. That happens.
Stops a bunch of what?
It stops a bunch of traders out when they allow that, trader committee.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's how they gather it up. Right? Like, so if you're getting into a trade, let's say if you're in this trade and you're long from 4,300 and your stop loss is 42.94, and Warren Buffett comes to me and he goes, "Hey, I want to buy 10,000 lots, but I want to buy them at 87.75. Well, if I pull the order book over, Jesus, Warren. Okay, so if I pull the order book over and we look here, you've got, you'd have to add all these up until we get to 10,000, right? Because he wants to buy 10,000 lots. So market maker will just pull all of his bids, right? So because the market maker is obviously trading both sides of the market. So these 157 lots, right? Some of them are me, some of them are you, some of them are other retail traders, some of them are floor traders, some of them are investors, but a lot of it is market makers. A lot of it's well, I guess you just keep calling them market makers. Really, that's really what they are. But they're trading on both sides of the market. Well, they pull all of their bids, and this 153 turns to like 12, and then this turns to like 15, and this turns to 18, and then this turns to 17, and this turns to 25, right? And they just move it down and scoop it all back up, and then these 10,000 lots trade, and then they just pull it back up, and then they put all their bids back. So they just sucked out all the liquidity, and then price is right back where it's at. Because this guy that's getting in down here for 10,000 lots, it's not like his average is here at 10,000, right? He had to take up all this on the way back up to fill it. So they're just doing, a favor basically, for the bigger money. And when when you're making your money off of each tick, like market makers are, right? They're making the money off the commissions and the tick change. They're not really, they don't care about, your fuck up. You know what I mean? They're like, well, you shouldn't have had a fucking stop loss. This wouldn't happen to you.
Right. No, I got you. It's just kind of shitty.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It sucks, but that's the name of the game. You got caught short, Dr. VJ? Where were you short from? Had to go for 4 call to get out of green within my loss parameters. If Buffett wants to buy lower, we may be screwed. Yeah, for real, we might be. Yeah, and this is something that I was talking with Tommy about yesterday, and they've been doing it really to just kind of propel the upside. They've been pushing Globex down these past 3 days, right? Globex was lower, settle lower, settle lower, settle lower, right? We even got a break below Globex today to really trap a bunch of momentum shorts, not paying attention to value, trading price, which is why we always say we do not trade price. Because if you traded price, you probably got stuck down at the lows. But we never got acceptance inside the T2 range, which tells us, or that lower distribution from yesterday, which tells us don't get short, right? And not saying that you couldn't have made money on the short, if you're in and you're out, but the bigger play is who we're trying to trade with, right? We're trying to trade with the larger money, and the larger money obviously was trapping shorts. And so they moved the market down. Price addicted traders got short. Who's down there? Me, just fucking eating all these dots of people getting short, right? And I'm just kidding, but big traders getting long, and then pushing the market back where it's going. And they've been doing it for the past 3 days in a row. That's how this upside's been continuing on this weak ass volume that we've been getting, right? At least that's my take on it. And I could be wrong, dead wrong, but that's just how I explain it to myself in order to rationalize my long trades. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Have a way to make it sense.
Yeah, because if it doesn't make sense, you might as well just be pulling the handle, the gambling handle.
Yeah, another way these big players get filled is like they make a level look super strong, like this overnight low, to where everybody's longing the bottom of that and putting their stop right under it, and then they just pay to run the stops real quick, so it flushes everybody's stops, and they're really sitting there scooping all those up. If they got to fill 25,000 contracts or something, they just build up a bunch of people's stops right there, then run the stop, grab it all up, and they take the price up.
Right. And they're willing to take a short-term loss for a long-term gain because they're understanding the psychology behind it. They understand that those are weak-handed shorts, and they're not going to be willing to hold on to that. Like TJ's saying, their stop is right there below that Globex low, and that's where they know that they'll just, capitulate.
Do you recommend putting the stop maybe a couple of ticks lower just to let you know where everybody else is at?
No, I took that trade. I took the trade from, roll back here.
No, I'm just
80.
saying in general.
Oh, I mean, it just depends on kind of, I mean, it's a low risk trade, right? Like, you know, if C period came down and had trouble breaking, yeah, it's a low risk trade. You'd get stopped out quick. But most of the trades that I'm taking are not, uh, that's more of like a scalping trade, right? You take that trade, if it bounces up a couple ticks, you got to boom, you got to take it, cover it, and be willing to be happy with that small gain. If you're looking for a longer trade, then you've got to be, you know, you've got to be willing to put a little bit more risk on the table as well. So I took that trade from 86.50 and then filled again at 93.50 when we popped above it, and then closed everything out at 99.50. So I mean still another 7 points above that I didn't go with, and we're still going, and I don't have a long on. I don't have any position on actually, but you know, so because of my lack of conviction to either side here, I'm missing out on a little bit more upside because of, you know, I don't know, because I'm being a little bitch today, I guess. I don't know. Definitely should have held. There was nothing really that told me to close, especially not at 99.50 when I, you know, identified that fucking 4,300 was kind of an easy buy. But that's the thing, is like, you know, that psychology is just, it's a son of a bitch. And I like to, you know, think that I have a really strong psychology, but it still can, you know, still can get me to doubt myself in some of these positions. And I've kind of already, you know, convinced myself that today's going to be a neutral extreme day. That's kind of why I pretty much closed. But if we don't fill those single prints down in E, then this thing could start to just trend. And you're seeing a bunch of volume come in at that prior day high, that 475. So it looks like a bunch of people got trapped short there as well. And, you know, if this thing could easily just continue back up, and it might want that 200 SMA and start, you know, gravity, might start proving gravity is real and sucking it towards that 200 SMA. Boom, full circle joke. Now that I know that it pisses people off, I'm gonna just keep bringing it up.
Good one.
Thank you. Oh shit, the bot's invaded. I didn't even notice. Oh. Jason, sorry, I just saw your question. Said, hey Brad, how is NinjaTrader market profile? How is NT market profile on Sierra versus on NinjaTrader? Do you know of any good market profile indicators for NinjaTrader? Yeah, Jason, the Rancho Dinero market profile is really good for NinjaTrader. I like it a lot. It works really well. It just depends on, it's an add-on, so you've got to buy it. I think it's like $150 or something like that, but you've got to buy it. Whereas Sierra Charts comes with it, but you have to pay for Sierra Charts every month. Like I think I pay like $65 a month, but I think you can get a plan where it's like $30 a month as well. $33 a month, and then you can get discounts if you pay for it in like quarterly. Like if you pay for it, you know, for 3 months up front, and then 6 months, and then a year. Oh, the Rancho Dinero one offers half back. I'm almost positive about that. I haven't logged on to my NinjaTrader in a while, but I'm pretty sure. My dad in here still? He might be working. But I'm pretty sure it does show half back. with the lifetime license. Yeah. Rob, you're using Rancho? It shows half. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the free NinjaTrader market profile is not bad if you have the lifetime license. You just can't separate it. So you just have to overlay the 30-minute bars on it, which isn't that big of a deal. Yeah, they call it the mid on it. And if you want a template, Jason, just jump in the Discord. I have a template for NinjaTrader that I posted a while back. So looking to get sucked up here to that 200 SMA. Seeing the NASDAQ start to try to get up to this, Peter gap. Weighted sector's still looking pretty strong. We're starting to see information technology push back. Apple's barely red. Amazon's up 0.66. Google's almost back to positive. Meta's down 0.86. Microsoft down 0.17. Netflix down 0.87. Tesla still red, but barely. Yeah, I have a template for Rancho. Documents. Mute. Oh. There's the break up. NASDAQ still moving. Weighted sectors still rolling. Yeah. And then I have another one here. What's this one too? Those are those two indicators or two setups, chart setups that I have for them. You said you bought Rancho but haven't used it because you haven't had any ideas on how to use it. Yeah, just follow for Rancho. You really got to follow that step-by-step guide that they post when you buy it, because it can be a pain in the ass for sure. Ask my dad; he's had to do it like 5 times. There's that magnet pushing on that 200 SMA. And so this is another level that I'm looking to gain support above here. If the market is able to get accepted above this 43.11 and we start to see some volume pour in, I'll be looking for us to trade up to that low end of this upper distribution, or the high end, I guess, of this upper distribution here on the daily, which is at 4364.5. It would be the low of this previous balance, but the base of this single print distribution here. Apple starting to catch some gas, looking to break out above its Globex high, or its previous day high. It hasn't done it yet. We can expect some mechanical selling at this level, right? So let's see the actual strength of response here at this 200 SMA if you get a retracement. We've got 5 minutes until F period opens up. So as of right now, it does look like we are going to open up some singles. So let's see as F period opens up, how many singles it looks to close. And if it doesn't just rush these singles close, then we want to go ahead and go with this. Warden. A lot of volume piling in up here, right on that 200 SMA. Weak spot below at 1150. There it goes. There's stops getting ran. Nasdaq's really starting to catch some gas here too.
Gas has to be kind of hard to catch, so gas.
All right, guys. Well, this is pretty much where I'm going to wrap it up at. Take a peek at what's expected through the rest of the day. I'd like to see us accept above this 200 level. And then, like I said, I think that 64 level up here is probably the target, 43.64, which would be the base of those singles. Exercise caution just because we don't want to, or we understand that in this area of darkness here that we could see responsive selling at any moment. So we want to make sure that we're getting in on good levels with good risk management. We don't want to just be closing our eyes and buying the market, even though for the most part today that's been working. We'd want to see acceptance. We do see some volume coming in here on this 43.12. You're starting to see a lot of volume start to form above it. So that is, keying in on some upside here. And if we take a peek around the market here at all the sectors, you can see XLK back above its open, really starting to move up off the lows. XLV looking to get back above its open. That's healthcare. XLY, consumer discretionary, really strong. Financials really strong since the open. Communications really strong now that they've broken above the open. Industrials really strong since the open. Staples really strong since the open. Energy, the lagger of today, but still trying to climb up back above its open. Utilities, materials, and real estate, all looking pretty decent above their open. Real estate starting to have a little pullback here, but the weight of real estate is pretty minimal, so it's not really that big of a deal, honestly, in my opinion. And here's F period, right? Just opening up right above on some pretty decent single prints. So now we've got two sets of single prints below, and value still hasn't shifted up. So we want to remember that that's what we trade here is value. So what is the market going to have to do in order to shift value to the upside? Well, we're going to have to continue to spend time up here. We've got our values at 4 TPOs here. So if F period were to close these singles and trade back into D, we would get a little bit of shift in value up. If F period doesn't close the singles and we get some overlap from G period, and that could bring value back up and really shift this value to the upside and get us overlapping to higher here. So just, you know, maintain that perspective. Like I said, don't follow price just because price is up. Doesn't mean necessarily that we're going to continue moving up for the rest of the day. We need to get confirmation from that value. That's why we'll use these single prints here as some, you know, basically support until they close, right? I'm more looking at these single prints down here at the E low and E section in this E period, but we might just, you know, might just keep popping these tops, and this thing might just squeeze up to that 60 today. To take a peek at the volume real quick. You can see volume has been increasing throughout the day, kind of giving us that insight that, you know, people bought the low, right? Buyers were able to scoop that up. One thing that I mentioned in the trade view is that I think that one of these days, and could be today, there's going to be a day where we open up on a gap. I think this is how I think today's going to play out, right? And it could keep trending up. But I think that we're going to come back in range, but we're going to finish high. And I think everyone's going to call that a failure. And then they're going to gap the market up tomorrow and just murder all of these people that have just been fighting this uptrend for so long. You know, just a guess, right? Nothing, you know, I don't have any fucking scientific data to back it up. But yeah, other than that, make sure that you are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. You guys have a wonderful day. If you don't know how to make a trade plan, make sure you post that you want to jump in the Discord, or just post in the Discord, hey, I'm struggling with my trade plan. Could we go over it? And then tomorrow, when we have a slow time in the market, we'll pull up the trade view and we'll just go over how I come to my conclusions of the day, right? And you can, you know, you don't want to copy my trade plan because everything, you know, emotions and everything's going to be different, but at least you can use it as a, you know, a ladder to you know, hang your own Christmas lights up, right? But yeah, other than that, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you all later.
Thanks for
See you,
good
Brad.
job, man.
See you, everybody.
See you guys.